Hello everybody and welcome to my presentation. My name is Breeson Coria and today I will be presenting the elements of design. Okay, so the first element is space. So space refers to many things. It is a requirement for graphic design. Examples of space is negative, which is empty space, positive, which is filled space, 3D space, one-point perspective, and layering objects. These are all examples of space. I provided an image here just so we are able to differentiate the negative and the positive space right here. Whether space is positive or negative, space is more than a key element in graphic design. So space is a requirement. You can't just not create without space. You can't talk about create or evaluate graphic design without accounting for space. Negative and positive space can play crucial complementary roles in successful visual communication and graphic design. The second element is line. So line is everywhere. In the book, I did find this. If negative space is empty space, then to delineate the limits of space or create positive space, the line is our most primal tool. A line is a continuous mark that is made on a surface by a moving point or two points connected together. So examples of lines is fine line, heavy line, textural line, elegant line, and whimsical line. So I provided an image here with all the lines. As you can see, this whole image is literally made of lines. So a line just connects two points together, and lines can also have emotive qualities. It can give direction, rhythm, angularity, weight, and style, and the rate refers to thickness of a line. Another thing that I learned about element of line, so the line is actually associated with movement and eye flow. And if we recognize that a layout in its entirety forms of unified pictures of sorts, then we can also use lines and layout to control the eye's movement. And this image, I forgot to mention, this is line art. This is considered line art. So the next element is shape and form. I provided another image here. So in graphic design, we consider shapes as forms, but the concept of it remains the same, the meaning at least. In shapes, there are contours and profile. Most shapes, layouts, and blocks are rectangular, which is why they're called copy blocks. So there are two types of shapes. The first one being inorganic, which is pretty much like a perfect circle, square, rectangle, etc. And those kinds of shapes don't really appear in nature. And then we have the organic shape, which does appear in nature. It's just a more natural form. Then we have a modified shape. That's pretty much just like, I'm trying to think of an example here, like apps, like applications on your phones. If you actually have ever noticed, like when you're looking at your phone, the apps on your phone, they're like modified. So you won't see an app that has pointy corners, because when we think of pointy corners and like sharp corners, we think of danger. And when they're rounded, we kind of think of it like a safe place for some reason. So that just makes a shape look safe, makes a shape look approachable, which is why we're probably stuck on our phones all the time. And then we have a bilateral shape. So this is like a tree or an animal, and it resonates with us because the human body is a bilateral asymmetrical. Another thing I do want to mention about shape is that it can trigger instant recognition, and it can also be evocative. Another element is size and scale. So the notion of size as a graphic design element is not difficult to grasp. It is most relatively size or scale, such as large headlines versus small. For example, this image. I really like this image because it's literally straightforward. So you will read this font or you will read this sentence before you read this. It's just big fonts like this. It catches your attention. Rather, like when you read this, you will see this as like it's shouting at you almost. But then when you're reading this, it almost feels like it's just like, you will read this before you read this. It just seems like this is just kind of like whispering to you. And I feel like size is just very important for composing layouts because it can make things shout with importance, or it can make them whisper. All right, and the next element is color. So color is the most powerful, most important communication tool in a designer's toolbox. It draws attention, it evokes emotion, and it organizes as well. We literally live in a world of color. There are so many types of colors, such as primary colors, which is red and blue. With these three colors, you can use them to combine any other color. There's warm colors, cool colors, complementary colors, secondary colors, triadic colors, and analogous colors. And when I was reading, I also learned the differences between tinting, toning, and shading. So tinting is when you're adding white, toning, you're adding gray, and shading, you are adding black. And then we have the other element, which is texture. So when I think of texture, I think of like something like you can touch. Like, I'm trying to think of an example here. Carpet. You can touch carpet and you'll know what carpet feels like. Grass. It's just stuff like that. But when I was reading, texture it's usually just like an illusion, like a 3D texture of depth and dimension. And texture also comes with pattern. So it comes with repeating shapes that can give visual impression of texture. So when it's like an illusion, like this image right here, if you stare at it long enough, it makes my eyes hurt. But like the illusion, this is called an implied texture. And the last element for my slide is the element of value. So value, when I was reading, I thought it actually meant like value, like it holds value, like monetary value, but I was so wrong. So value refers to tones of darkness and lightness. So when you're using value, you're most likely going to use a grayscale. So the wider the assortment of gray tones, the more we perceive depth and dimension. So this image right here is just contrasting value, light, dark. This is useful for giving the sense of 3D and 2D as well as color when you cannot use color. Alrighty, and this pretty much just sums up my presentation. And I thank you guys so much for watching my slide. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye.